One day in 1908, somebody called Maggie sent Miss Halstead in Todmorden this postcard from Morecambe. The message is cheery, but a little bit mysterious to us now. Thank you very much for the sweets. We had more fun than a little out of that box, I can tell you. The powders we have had no need to sample yet. Our people are away this week. We are getting up early. Reverse, I mean. Some people still send postcards to their friends while on holiday, so at first glance there seems relatively little surprising about this card. I'm Julia Gillan, and with Nigel Hall of Manchester Metropolitan University and colleagues here at the Lancaster Literacy Research Centre here at Lancaster University, I'm researching the Edwardian picture postcard. It is becoming clear that at the beginning of the 20th century, the postcard was an extraordinary communications phenomenon, unparalleled until the digital revolution of today. In this short video, I'm going to show you 3 important features of the Edwardian postcard and why studying it is worthwhile today. I'll show how the Edwardian postcard was different from postcards nowadays, more like text messaging or emailing. I'll show how the Edwardian postcard was used creatively by Edwardians from all sections of society. Finally, I'll show you how I'm using Twitter to breathe new life into the cards. The postcard was first introduced in Britain in 1870. Although it was adopted enthusiastically, it was not until pictures were officially permitted that it became more popular. At first, writing was only allowed in the margins. From 1902, when the whole of one side was used for a picture and the writing could take half of the address side, there was then a massive increase in the use of picture postcards. A great deal of attention has been paid to postcards by collectors and researchers, but almost all of it has focused on the picture side. Our research is examining what people wrote on cards and why. For the first time, almost everybody could easily afford to buy and post a colourful, attractive object. Writing on cards was so quick and informal that the postcard was the prime social networking tool of its day. At the beginning of the 20th century, the post office was very different from today. There were up to 10 deliveries a day in London, for example. People used cards to send messages that they knew would arrive within hours. This message, "Shall be pleased to see you tonight," was sent to 32-year-old Lillian Lockwood, a domestic help living with her mother near Halifax. Sending and collecting postcards became a popular craze. We've used the Postmaster General's reports to calculate that 6 billion cards were sent between 1902 and 1910. That's an average of 200 per person a year. As that average includes everyone, babies, very old and sick people and so on, it really is an extraordinary figure. People were aware that they were living in an extraordinary communications revolution, as this cartoon from Punch in 1910 suggests. The railway system was at its zenith, with just about every locality served. You could even post a postcard while on a train. So people sent messages that they knew would arrive very quickly, rather as they might send text messages today. This card, to Mrs. G.W. Tasker in Doncaster, reads, "Dear Mother, just a line to tell you, if George is not coming today, our George will come and fetch the peelings and bring you a bit of pork, so don't get any meat. Hoping you are all well, Mother. Kiss, kiss, kiss to Doris." This gives a wonderful sense of the speed and informality of card writing. In this card the writing is speedy, there are some misspellings, but the meaning is clear. It's something like a text message, and if we turn the card over we see something else interesting. Although we can easily access images on our computers and smartphones, most of our messages may still consist of text, just writing. Picture postcards in Edwardian times enabled users to commission their own, as in this family portrait. Did one of these people send the card? Some people drew or painted their own illustrations from scratch. Take a look at this beautiful card, over which somebody has taken so much trouble. As my colleague Owenna Carter recognised, the illustration contains lots of clues about the people the sender has written about. For example, the boy has Willie written on the corner of his sailor suit. Jerry, the writer of the card, has written, "I hear nothing else, but how is Willie?" She has sent the card to Sydenham, the destination painted on the side of the suitcase. More common than designing one's own card was appropriating the space on a card for extra writing. This is one of my favourite cards in our collection, and I don't think it's just because I come from Brighton. I love the way the writer interweaves the choice of amusing image with their own little narratives, and how much material they manage to squeeze onto the card. The card to a Miss E. Cook in Coventry reads, Dear Ethel, you mean bounder not to write. Very sad occurrence in Brighton Saturday. You'll be grieved to hear it. I stood on one groin, and my hat blew off into the sea. I don't believe I shall ever see it again. Written above this text is written, Arthur arose at 6 a.m. this morning. Very energetic, isn't he? Then on the illustrated side of the card is written, Example Arthur. Almost finally, written across the top of the card, perhaps as an afterthought, perhaps as vital information, Mother arrived safely. We all met her. The final signature is written upside down alongside the main text. With such cards, we get a great sense of the enjoyment and freedom to be gained in the use of this new communications technology. We've been using the 1901 and 1911 censuses to find out more about card addressees. The 1911 census has a Cook family living at the address at the card. The daughter of the family is Mabel Emily Cook. Aged 17 in 1911, born 1894 in Coventry, and she works as a shorthand typist. She is the daughter of Frank Charles Cook, 38 in 1911, born 1873 in Coventry. He works as a fitter. The 1901 census has him working as fitting motor cars. He's married to Annie, who was born in 1874 in Coventry. By 1911 they have 2 daughters and a son. The other daughter is Winifred Annie, 5, and the son is Sidney Frank, 13. Nigel Hall recognised how emblematic this family is of a taking on of the modern world. The father, even in 1901, works with a very new motor car, and Mabel Emily is a shorthand typist, an occupation that was growing rapidly in the Edwardian period, being carried out mainly by women. In their speed of delivery, combination of picture and message, and relative degree of brevity, the Edwardian postcard has a great deal in common with Twitter. I'm using Twitter today to breathe new life into the cards and to communicate with new audiences. At the moment, I'm tweeting cards sent to a Miss Ruby Ingray, a young typist who lived in Islington, London, with her parents and siblings. Most of the cards are written by a young sailor, Arthur Waddlow, who was always making plans for his next visit to Ruby. The familiarity of these cards made us wonder if they married later. However, in 1916 she married Percy Barham, a dispatch clerk. We're trying to find out what became of Arthur. My final card is another from Morecambe. In 1903, somebody who identified himself as JHC must have commissioned this card from a photographer and then sent it to Miss Croom, Roughdown, Boxmoor, Herts. On the picture side, the house at the top of the village is Bare Old Hall. Number 1 is the upstairs sitting room and number 2 is the downstairs sitting room. Number 1 in a bedroom will be 25 shillings per week. Number 2 in a bedroom, £1 a week. This is no dearer than I thought, but I can recommend the rooms. Will you please write direct to Mrs. Cuswell, Old Hall, Bare Morecambe. If you wish the rooms, say that you are the party for whom I have been inquiring. Beautiful weather here just now. Are there any LNWR passes in connection with the Morecambe steamers? If so, you could take a nice short trip across to Ireland. We'll be glad to hear your arrangements. JHC. We are studying the postcard during the Edwardian period. King Edward VII died on 6th of May 1910. We have a card dated from Kathleen writing to Miss Blockley. This marked the end of the height of the picture postcard craze. After the First World War, deliveries became much less frequent, there were fewer post office workers, and cards became more expensive. Not until the advent of the digital revolution was it again possible to send so quickly and cheaply quick written messages.